What's up everyone, Jason Turley here, and I am back on picoCTF. Today we're looking at picoCTF 2023, this web challenge called Find Me. You see it's only worth 100 points, so it is a more beginner-friendly challenge. The description for this reads, help us test the form by submitting the username test and password as test exclamation point. The website is running here. So I already have the instance launched. I did solve this challenge already. So in this video, I'm just going to showcase 3 different techniques, 3 different ways that I solved the challenge. And then you can just take which one that you like best, or you can practice them all and just learn 3 different methods. So I'm going to restart my instance here just so I have something fresh to work with. Now that's loaded, let's open it up here. And we see this welcome page. Help us test this form. The username is test and the password is test. Okay, that's different than what we saw on the challenge description. So let's just type in test, and then the submit button is also just called test. So we get this annoying Firefox pop-up asking if we want to save the password. We don't. I wonder if I can like disable this for this page. I don't know if I can. So we get this page. Try username test and the password test exclamation point. You can hit Control U. We can look at the source code. There's nothing interesting here. There's no tips. There's no like tricks or anything to this. It's pretty straightforward. So we'll come back here and now we'll just add our exclamation point. Now when we resubmit, we get redirected to this page. Welcome, fellow human. I was redirected here by a friend of mine, but I couldn't find anything. Help me search for flags. And then we get the search box up here and it just asks us to search for flags. So let's type in flags. All right, there doesn't seem to be any change to the website. Let's type in pico, question mark for like some type of help usage. No, nothing. We can hit Control U and we can look at the source code for this website. All right, we see the CSS, we see how the style of the website is made. There's usually nothing really interesting in the CSS itself that we need to concern ourselves with, but we do see this over here. Let me zoom in. We do see, we see this JavaScript function called search, where it's going to grab 3 elements, a search result, a search term, and a keyword, some comments. All right, the comments are hidden. We could play around and maybe remove that and see what comments there are, if any. But look at this. So it gets our keyword that we enter in our search box. It grabs a keyword. It says that it's fetching the results from the server, but it just returns this value false. So it's not doing any post-processing. There is no back-end database. This isn't like Google. There's nothing behind this. It isn't doing any search. So you can type in this all you want. You can try to get some type of like injection. You can try to do special characters, but it's not going to result in anything. It's just function. It's basically a rabbit hole, maybe, if you want to call it that. It's a trick. There is nothing going on in that search box. But you can scroll down and you can look at the rest of the HTML. There's nothing really we need to concern ourselves with, so we're going to close out of this window. So you might be wondering, like, what's going on? What do we do here? Can we go back? Back a few times. So if I go back, we see this base64 encoded ID value and then next page. That's interesting. Let's grab this and see what's going on. So there's a few ways you can base64 decode stuff. You can use something like CyberChef. It's a great tool. Once this loads, we can slam in our input and drag this over here. So from base64, and we can see that we get like a part of the flag, right? L underscore the way, and then the special characters at the end, the unique ID. So if we hit back one more time, oops, I had the wrong one. We see this other piece of base64. So let's come back, not to our terminal, but the CyberChef, and let's slam in that. And then we get the whole flag. picoCTF proxies all the way. So what's going on? And we see the title of the page is called flag. So if I come back here, I hit Control-Shift-I on the keyboard to bring up the developer tools. I need to reload them because it's my first time using them in the session. We see on this left column, status. So if you're not familiar, there's different HTTP status codes, or return codes, or error codes, however you prefer to call them. And they usually start with a number, and that number dictates what kind of code it is. So if it's 200, that usually means this page loaded successfully. There's no errors. If it's 404, which most people are familiar with, it's page not found. So the 400 level series are errors. 200 is usually some type of okay. And then we see this one here. We see 300. Oof, I made that ugly. Hopefully you guys can see this. I feel like I'm making it worse as I go along. But 304 means redirect. You were on one page originally, and now you got redirected to a new page. And we knew that, right? Because we logged in with the username and password, and then we got redirected to a new page. So that's good. That's normal. But what is this? What is going on? Why are these two pages here? These two base64 IDs here? So it's a little tricky to try to use this inside of this Chrome developer tools or these browser developer tools. A better way is to use something like BurpSuite, which is a web proxy. And if you're not familiar, a web proxy is a tool that basically sits between your web browser, so Firefox in this example. So it sits between Firefox and the web server, with the web server being this picoCTF instance. So our proxy is going to sit right in the middle. It's going to intercept our requests, and then it's going to show us that. So let's start up burp. And if that didn't make any sense, don't worry. I'll showcase it in a second. Okay, so burp, it can be a little bit intimidating the first time you use it. There are a lot of menus, there's lots of widgets, there's a lot of things, like what does this mean? So if we come over here to proxy, so the third tab from the left, we see this button, intercept is off. We want to enable this. We want to turn this on. We want to tell BurpSuite, anytime my browser sends a request to a server, I want you to capture it first. I want you to look at it and examine it before you ever send it to that server. So with proxy on, we're not done quite yet. We need to change our browser settings, and you can do that by clicking here, or you don't need to open a new tab. You can just go to settings, search for proxy, and then it's going to be set to no proxy by default, but we want manual proxy, and then you can type it in here for HTTP. I was playing around earlier with some other stuff for a certificate. I was using proxy chains, so you can ignore this. Don't worry about this SOX proxy. That's more advanced stuff. So you can enter here that we want localhost, and then you can enter the port. It's usually 8080, but I'm not going to do it here. I'm not going to do it through the Firefox settings. You can, but every time you want to change it, you need to keep opening this up. Come here, no proxy, manual proxy. And that's a lot to toggle back and forth, especially when you're doing some type of time-based assessment. Every second, every minute counts. So if you can see here in the right-hand corner of my screen, I have this extension called Foxy Proxy, which is a great way to just toggle your BurpSuite proxies on and off. So you see here, I made this feature, this proxy, the setting called burp. So I'm gonna click here, and I'm going to go to options. I'm gonna open it up so everyone can see it. If I go to proxies, burp. It's very simple. So I have the title, you can name it whatever. I just named this burp, or you can name it BurpSuite. The type, so what protocol are you doing? We're doing HTTP. HTTPS is encrypted, but this website, this simple capture the flag challenge is not really encrypted, so we don't need to worry about that. So leave this as HTTP. You don't need to filter in any type of country, so we'll leave that blank. And then really all you need is the host name, so localhost, the IP address of your machine, and then the port. This can be any port number. However, BurpSuite uses 8080 by default. So if you use something different here, then you also need to change it over here. So with that out of the way, we're going to leave this running. Notice how it's blank. I'm going to put this on the left, and then I come over here. Let's exit out of this, put this on the right. We're going to run out of time soon, but that's okay. Let's right click, or not right click, let's control click here, Open this up in a new tab. You see that it's loading. You see that the page never actually gets presented to the screen. Instead, it pops up here. Let's make this a little bit cleaner. It pops up in our BurpSuite window. Can I zoom in? I don't know if I can make this any bigger. All right, here we go. Display, font size. Let's make it 16. Okay, then we can also change the color scheme to dark. I like light. Okay, so hopefully that's a little easier for you guys to read. I might need to crank it up even more. Let's see, settings. Let's make it 20. I feel like it's not really changing this at all. This still seems pretty small. So hopefully you guys can read the contents, but we see we're making an HTTP GET requests. And this is the host, this is the website, right? This is the URL, the picoCTF.net on this random port. And nothing special. So let's hit forward to actually send it to the server. And now we enter the username and password. Let's do test and test exclamation point. Hit enter. And you can see down here, the username and password are specified in the parameter. And instead of a GET request, now it's a POST request. A GET request is to retrieve some type of website, retrieve some type of web page, and a POST request is usually used to upload something or to send something to the server. In this case, we're sending our username and our password. If you're very astute, you can see the exclamation point has been changed. It's now %21, %21, and that's simply because an exclamation point, a comma, any type of slash, any type of these weird special characters, they might interact or interfere with the server, right? With the code. So the browser, the tool, it's going to change it. It's going to obfuscate it. It's going to URL and code it. So the exclamation point has been changed to a %21, just so there's no errors in the back end. You can turn that on or you can turn it off, but it's going to do it like that automatically. So let's hit forward to actually send it to the server. And now we get this other page. We can also pull this up and I think we can see, so you can see the ID here, right? You can start to see the start of the base64. And then if we hit forward again, you can see the next one. So that's cool. We can just keep forwarding that. If I go to HTTP history and I go back to the original POST request, pull this up, you can see it here. You can see found, redirecting here, and we get this first page. But let's right click and send this to repeater, and it just makes it easier if we want to keep changing stuff. So let's just do test, test, and we send, and we see it says try username and password exclamation point. So we change that there, and now we send it. And this is cool because we can just keep seeing the response, and we don't need to go back to our Firefox tab at all. So we hit send again, and we keep getting the new, if I just keep spamming send, it's just going to give us the initial portion of the cookie. But if we hit follow redirection, then it gives us the next one. And then we can also see what kind of JavaScript function is being made. So that's pretty cool. You can grab that again and you can basically forward code it. So that's two ways, just through the browser, through the Chrome proxy, or through the BurpSuite proxy rather. Another way that I think is pretty cool is we're going to use Curl. If you're not familiar with Curl, it's a very, very powerful tool, especially when you're interacting with websites. You can use it to do GET requests, POST requests, delete requests. To read the description here, it's a tool for transferring data from or to a server using URLs, and it supports these protocols, FTP, so file transfer protocol, and file transfer protocol secure, HTTP, HTTPS, IMAP, so many protocols, SMB. I actually didn't know that. I thought it was mainly just for HTTP and HTTPS. I didn't realize you could use all these other protocols. So that's where reading man pages does come in handy. And just another pro tip, just a little bit of like wisdom, Curl, for a long time, it was only available on Linux-based systems. Recently, it has been ported over to Windows 11. So it's built in by default. You can just open up your command line and just type curl, as well as SSH or tar, which were natively only on Linux, but now they exist on Windows as well. So there's a little bit of trivia. So what do we want to do here? Let's turn off this proxy. You can do that just by going to disable. So now if I ever try to load a page, it's not going to get hung up in the burp proxy. We see that our instance died because I was talking too long. So let's restart it and let's grab a new one, close out of some of this stuff. So we have our new one. So we click here and we want to use curl this time. So if I grab this new IP address and I come over here, let's open up bash, and I type in curl in the URL, we see that it grabs this web page, right? It's the exact source code if I hit Control U. So if you just like looking at HTML and you just need to do a quick test, curl is not a bad way to do that. And we can see that input form here, username and password are the parameters it's looking for, right? So if I want to use curl to specify that, we can. Now, if I try to do it like this, curl, and then the URL, specify, and we want to specify the parameters. So username equals test, and password equals test bang, enter. We see cannot post. And that's because we're not actually interacting with the correct page. So we see here, there's no like sub page or anything. It's just the URL. But if we actually log in here, test bang, don't save. That's not what I wanted. So if we come here and we do test and test, hit enter, we see we're redirected to the /login page. So this is actually what we want to submit our request to. So once again, if we do curl tech D, username equals test, and the password equals test bang, and we slam in that with a /login at the end, we do get a result. We do get a hit. It says redirecting to next page, and then we get the first portion of the flag. We can grab that and we can start to base64 to code it. Nice. But how do we get the second portion? If I just keep spamming this, we're not going to get any results. So I was digging through the man page. I'm like, how can we follow the redirect? So if you search for redirect, you're going to get a few results. Eventually, you're going to stumble upon this /L or the TAC L option, short for location. And it reads, if the server reports that the requested page has been moved somewhere else, so a 304 redirect that we saw earlier, indicate that with this location header and a 3 series level response code. This will make curl redo the request on the next page. So if we used tag I for headers, blah, 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 there's something I wanted to note. What was it? If a redirect takes curl to a different host, it does not get the username and password sent on. The password, so right here. So when I can't even speak. When authentication is used, curl only sends its credentials to the initial host, which is what we want. We only want to send our creds to this first page. We don't want to send creds anywhere else on the subpages. So again, we're going to hit the up arrow and we can just simply specify tag L. And we do get a little bit more information, right? We see the second bit of the flag and we can base64 to code that just to prove it. But where's the first part, right? We don't have that first part anymore. One way I found is just to add tag V for verbose to print out more information. And now when we do that, we see the initial get request to that next page, the first next page, and then we get the other page here. So we can just grab this and the second one, and we can base64 to code it. So base64, typing in all caps, base64 to code, grab this first value, slam it in, grab this next value, slam that in, enter. Oop, that's not how you use this tool. There we go. And if we really wanted, we could scrimp this. I don't know, cd temp, vim. Let's re-grab this command. I don't know, my script. What's the name of this challenge? Findme.sh, URL. I'm making a big mess. Shebang line, user bin bash. Slam the URL in here just because we know this will change. We can do $URL/login, and then we can grep out ID. Now let's just see if this works. ls like la findme.sh. Let's make it executable. Now let's run it. Did not like that. And there's got to be a way to do this. I only want this. I only want this ID statement. These two lines. Okay, I've been going at this script for a while now, and I narrowed it down, and I was able to get this result of these two base64 encoded strings. So we see here I have the URL saved as a variable, just so whenever this website expires, we can just grab the new URL and slam it in here. So it's going to curl, it's going to make the post request, the username and the password. It's going to do tech L for redirection, as well as tech V for verbosity. So we get both ID values, both ID parameters. It's going to do S to silence any nonsense that we don't need. And then I needed this special thing right here, 2 greater than &1. I was running into an issue when I was doing the tech V, and it was getting all of this input here that has like these gators and the stars. It wasn't being redirected into standard output, so I needed to redirect everything to standard input, and that's what this syntax means: redirect standard error to input as well. So just redirect everything essentially to this one file stream, and then we just do a series of greps so we can narrow it down, and we can just get these 2 values. And then I did cut on a delimiter of the slash, and then another cut on the, so the cut of the delimiter of the slash gave me this, and that's close, but we want just these base64 values. So then I did a cut with a delimiter of an equal sign, and then a second field, and then I got this right here. And then you could just base64 decode this. It might not work as expected because it is missing the 2 equal signs. Oh, cool. So it does kind of work, but we do get base64 invalid input. So let me come up here. Let me grab this. Result equals, just wrap the whole thing in a variable, and then echo $results, and pipe that into base64D. Let's see if that works. Oof. No. What if I take out saving it as a variable, and then I just base64 decode it? Make sure the instance is still running. It's not, so restart it. That might have been the issue. Copy link, go over here, and replace this. We don't want that trailing slash at the end, because we have it here. Now when we run it, ooh, it's so close. It's so close. We get the beginning, but we don't get the end. Well, what don't you like? Result equals this, and then just echo out $result. What does that print? Yeah, maybe you guys will have better luck than I do. I'm not able to get this last value to decode correctly. But there we have it. Let me make this nice and big. So that's my script. That's where I currently stand. That's where I'm throwing in the towel, leaving it to you guys. Maybe I'll play around with this later. But it is getting kind of late here, and I've been at this for a little bit. So, ooh, we never actually submitted the flag. So let's come back here. Just copy it from CyberChef. And let's slam it in. So there. So it's 3 different ways to solve it. We used just the native Firefox browser, or any browser will work. We did BurpSuite, and then I also showed you how to use it in Curl. I try to get cute and fancy and write like some type of custom script, but that's where my abilities end. This is as far as I made it. So if anyone is able to make it with a Curl script or any type of other bash script, please let me know in the comments below. I'd be super interested to know how it goes. Let me know in the comments below if you found these useful, any tips or tricks you would like to share. And as always, take it easy and see you guys in the next video.